What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we are starting our big board for the draft. We're starting the big board right this second, and I'm excited for this. Now, this is the big board that I want to grow. I want to make huge. I want to have a big board. That way, when we go through the draft, we can look at players, see where they're selected, and then just cross them off as we go. Now, these are my opinion. You guys can definitely have your own big board, but I want to have a really good one. These may have tweaks to it, like we did with the free agency one. We kind of changed it up as different things happen, like players like, oh yeah, that guy's not going to be a free agent. Good thing with the draft, we don't really have to worry about that, but there definitely needs change. So if the Detroit Lions go out tomorrow or right now and they go sign Logan Ryan while I'm recording this, needs are probably going to change a little bit. So definitely things are going to change, and we could update this as we go on, so things are going to just move around. But most of it should stay the same, which is awesome. And then when we watch the draft, I'll probably put this up in like the corner or something. That way you guys can see what our big board looks like, and we can kind of cross them off as we go and have some fun with it. But let's start this thing off. I don't know where you guys see me on the screen right now, but we're going to start this thing off from the top and work our way down. We're going to go through 10 prospects today, and then in our next video, we will go 11 through 20. So let's get it started. Starting off at the very top of our big board, we have Chase Young. Now, Chase Young, for me, is a guy that really doesn't need an explanation on why he's number one. He's the best pass rusher in college football. He can play some run defense. He can move around. He's a versatile player. The Lions need pass rushers. If you watch Jeffery Okuda highlights, you'll see that most of his interceptions came with Chase Young right next to the quarterback, except for one of them. 2 of his 3 interceptions came from Chase Young getting tons of pressure. It's all about getting pressure in this league. The Lions didn't get pressure in this league. They were 29th last season with 28 sacks. They got to find a way to get to the quarterback, and what better way than to take the best edge rusher by far in this draft, grading out extremely high at everything, going against very good competition in the Big Ten. Chase Young is just something else. He's got multiple moves that he can go to, whether it's just completely just running around the offensive tackle, a couple of swim moves, bull rush. He can just do multiple different things, and he's very talented. This is an extremely talented player that, again, can play in run defense. I mean, I was watching him. You know, you look at his numbers. He can play run defense, which is shocking, and just that alone, to go with his extremely incredible ability to get to the quarterback with 27.2% pass rush win rate. It's incredible. Chase Young is the best player, I think, for the Detroit Lions in this draft. Some people may say he's the best player in the draft, and if the Lions can somehow score this guy at 3, I will be very, very happy. And that's why he comes in number 1. Now let's hop into number 2. The second player on my big board is Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker out of Clemson, or the safety, or the cornerback, or whatever you want to call him out of Clemson. Mr. Do-It-All, 6'4" linebacker. And Isaiah Simmons just does everything well. He does everything well, and the Lions kind of need that. They need a linebacker that can help in coverage. A lot of their linebackers right now are not very good in coverage. They can be run stoppers, but they're not very good in coverage, and that's why Isaiah Simmons is just like, wow, that guy's so good. He can play in the cornerback position. He can guard tight ends. He can guard running backs. He's the guy that said he would be able to stop George Kittle in the NFL. There needs to be linebackers that can do that. He thinks he's that guy. He's fast. He's a crazy athlete. His 40 time just like blew everybody off their seat. Everybody just fall off their chair, just like, oh my gosh, are you serious? That was that dude's 40 time. Isaiah Simmons is the definition of an athlete that can do multiple different things. He can cover, he can play run defense, he can get pressure, he can do whatever you ask. And in defense that plays a lot of linebackers at once, Isaiah Simmons can not only play linebacker, but also safety. He can just do everything. Isaiah Simmons is one of those guys that's like, oh, you need this? Okay, take Simmons. Oh, you need this? Okay, take Simmons. It's like whatever you need, Simmons can help you out in that aspect defensively, and that's why he comes in number 2. Now, let's hop into number 3. The third player I have on my big board, Jeffery Okuda. Now, Jeffery Okuda, in my eyes, is the best corner in this draft. I've looked at a lot of the other cornerbacks that are ranked up there with him. You know, no one's ranked up there at Jeffery Okuda level, but the guys that come in after him, you know, your C.J. Hendersons, your Christian Fultons, your Trayvon Diggs, your Cameron Dantzlers, those guys that come up right behind him, those guys are not on the same level as Jeffery Okuda. It's just pretty simple. Jeffery Okuda is the guy that can fit in any scheme. He can lock down man-to-man. He's fast. He has all the attributes that go to a corner. You know, you see a lot of good corners that are good at man-to-man, but that speed scares you. Really doesn't scare you with Jeffery Okuda. Now, he's not the fastest corner in this draft, but he's got enough speed to keep up. He can also be a willing tackler, which is huge. I think that was a big reason the Lions did pass on Greedy Williams at the time, even though getting Greedy Williams could have definitely helped us right now. However, we did pass on him. I think a lot of it had to do with his inability to tackle, or not necessarily inability, because he could tackle, he just wasn't good at it. Jeffery Okuda is pretty good at it. He's not great at it. He's good at it, and really that's the worst thing in his game. Other than that, though, he's a very good cornerback that went against tons of competition. Now, I do think he had a lot of help with a lot of the pressure that Ohio State was able to generate, but at the end of the day, he's a lockdown corner, and that's what the Lions need after losing Darius Slay, and that's why he comes in my top 3. Now, let's hop to number 4, where this one was really hard. After the top 3, it's so hard, and I just think there's so many options out there, but I decided to go and skip all the way down to the offensive tackle out of Iowa in Tristan Worse. Now, Tristan Worse is an offensive tackle, and you're probably hearing that, and you're like, why in the world would you put an offensive tackle in your top 4? Well, here's why. Detroit Lions obviously need offensive line help, and our offensive line right now is not where it needs to be. We need 2 guards potentially. We have Big V, who we think is the right tackle, but do we really know he's the right tackle? And really our only 2 positions that we're confident in is Taylor Decker and Frank Ragnow. We need some offensive line help. We have to keep Stafford on his feet, right? We have to keep him upright and healthy, so that's priority number 1, and because of that, offensive line becomes a big priority. It's not something that Bob Quinn has been scared of doing, and that's taking a lineman in the first round. I can see us doing it again, getting a lot in return and still getting a lineman. That could be something that Bob Quinn looks to do, and it wouldn't shock me because it can help both the run game, the passing game, keeping Stafford up on his feet, and also keep the defense off of the field. And that's why Tristan Worse comes here. Now, there's a lot of different linemen to choose from, and I'm sure if I just had to pick the one lineman, like if it didn't matter what position and I just needed the lineman for my team, I think Mekhi Becton would be way up there just because of his freakish size and his dominance in college. Now, he didn't play against the best schools at Louisville, but at the same time, he just has everything that you need, right? He's a guy that edge rushers are probably going to be a little scared of. Tristan Worse doesn't have that crazy size. He went against tons of competition, had really good production. He graded out very, very well. He can play both left tackle and right tackle. Some say he can play guard, which to me is huge because there's not a lot of tackles out of the top tackles that can play guard. But since this guy can play both tackles, I think that on its own is a huge reason that this is a guy that Lions could target. I think Big V could possibly move to guard, whether that's right guard or left guard. And a guy like Tristan Worse can play right tackle if he has to. He could play left tackle if he has to because he has both of those. That's just not something that we look at his game, we say he can do that. It's something that you've seen him do. We've seen him play both tackle positions. You don't see it a lot with a lot of top offensive linemen. And because of that, versatility, he comes in at number 4. Now, to round out the top 5, at number 5, I went with the defensive lineman. Now, this to me is not the best interior defensive lineman in the draft. All right, this isn't the best. He's the second best interior defensive lineman in the draft, unless you count him as an edge, Javon Kinlaw. Now, I went with Javon Kinlaw over who I think is the better defensive lineman in Derrick Brown, just by a little bit. I think Derrick Brown is just this much better. Now, Javon Kinlaw is a guy that after the whole thing with the Lions and maybe showing interest with the Detroit Lions, I all of a sudden became interested in. I was like, that'd be a really good pick. Also, he would be a little bit later than Derrick Brown as well, in my opinion. I think he's going to fall to probably 13 at maybe the earliest or the latest, however you want to look at it, to the 49ers. So we could definitely trade back. Really, anywhere inside the top 10, you're safe. Outside the top 10, a little bit questionable, but I think he'll be good until number 13. So you could get him while getting tons in return. And he was at the Senior Bowl with Matt Patricia, so they already have probably a little bit of a relationship there. Maybe he does like Matt Patricia, and I think, being a great player is very important, but as we've seen as well with Darius Slay, having the character to fit a team is very important as well. And Darius Slay did not fit in well here. It was a mess. We had to move on. He graded out his worst under Matt Patricia after coming off his best season of his career in 2017. Now with Javon Kinlaw, if he likes Matt Patricia, he likes his scheme, I would go with that guy over Derrick Brown, who I'm not saying he doesn't. Javon Kinlaw is a guy that's interested in the Detroit Lions. So that's why he comes in above Derrick Brown. He comes in at number 5. Now, let's hop in to number 6. And this is the other defensive lineman in Derrick Brown. Look, Derrick Brown is a guy that actually has more versatility in my eyes than Javon Kinlaw. Javon Kinlaw is looked at as a guy that can play defensive end, which I think he could. The thing is, Derrick Brown has played a lot more snaps at multiple different positions than Javon Kinlaw has in college. He did. And now he had 2 less sacks last season, but he had 3 seasons in a row with 5 sacks. Javon Kinlaw has 7 and 5 and 0. So there's definitely some consistency there. He grades out a little bit better against the run and just a little bit worse in pass rush. They're very, very close players, but his versatility is a reason I think he's really great. He can play everywhere on the defensive line. He's played every position. He can play on the outside, can play on the inside, and with the Lions moving different guys around, I think Derrick Brown would be a really good fit for the Lions. I think he can go out, make some plays on the outside, even though he's not the most athletic, and I don't think his combine helped him. I still think he's a heck of a player, and that's why he comes in at number 6. And he fills out a nice need. We got to get a guy that can help with the run stopping and get some pressure, and that's Derrick Brown. Now, let's hop into number 7. And at number 7, Jedrick Wills. Now, Jedrick Wills, to me, is one of the better tackles in this draft. I don't think he's the best tackle in this draft, but he is one of the better tackles in this draft. And for me, when I'm looking at tackles in this draft that could fit the Lions, I want to at least see, okay, can you be versatile and play multiple positions? Or do you play right tackle? Because if you're not versatile, and I don't know if you can play multiple positions, and you don't play the right tackle, now I'm concerned. Because Mekhi Becton, for example, the reason that he's not going to be on here, which I think he is extremely fierce, and if he showed me at all that he could play right tackle, I would probably put him up here above Jedrick Wills. The problem is he hasn't shown me he can play right tackle. And I'm not saying he can't. He may be able to. I don't know. I don't know exactly how to scout tackles as well as other people may. So I try to kind of stay in my lane there and just go off what other people say. And because of that, I haven't seen anywhere that's told me that Mekhi Becton can play both tackle positions. And because of that, the Detroit Lions probably needing a right tackle instead of a left tackle, because I don't want to see Taylor Decker move with a guy that you're not sure can play, the right tackle position either, because Taylor Decker hasn't done that. that, I'd rather keep Taylor Decker still, where he's coming off one of his better seasons. Well, kind of. He graded out well, but he allowed a lot of sacks. And I would then want to get a right tackle, not necessarily a left tackle that we have to try to move the right tackle when it's important to protect Matthew Stafford. Also, he's 6'7", so I don't know if he can play guard. So I went with Jedrick Wills because Jedrick Wills is a right tackle. And if the Lions are in the idea, in the mindset of, hey, we're going to move Big V to guard, then I think Jedrick Wills could work out very well for the Detroit Lions, the offensive lineman from Alabama. He's one of the best offensive linemen in this draft, and that's why he comes in at number 7. Now, let's hop into number 8. And at number 8, we have a defensive player, okay? We're getting back to the other side of the football, and we're getting back to a skill position. This one is someone you're maybe not expecting to be this high on. Of all these players, who do you think I'm going to take next? Probably not this guy. That is Kristian Fulton out of LSU. Now, I think some people look at this and they think CJ Henderson is a better cornerback than Kristian Fulton. Personally, I'm not for that. Now, I think CJ Henderson has a certain style that would work well for certain teams, and those are the teams that blitz their cornerbacks a lot. CJ Henderson is a guy that could blitz and get to the quarterback a lot. I'm pretty sure 9 out of 19 times he blitzed, he actually was successful. That's very good. We don't blitz our cornerbacks that much, and to be an outside cornerback in CJ Henderson, I just don't think he's ever going to have the opportunity to blitz that much. Now, I do think he can fit our scheme pretty well, but again, that's not something I love, and he doesn't grade out coverage very well. He's not a shutdown coverage corner. Now, I'm not saying Fulton is either, but he's not on Fulton's level when it comes to coverage ability. A lot of it is his ability to play in the pass rush, but I don't think he's going to rush anyways with the Lions, so I'm not going to go with him. Instead, I'm going with Kristian Fulton, who definitely has some concerns because 3 years ago, he lied on he didn't lie. I think he cheated on a drug test to make sure he got he got past it, and he ended up getting suspended, and that was definitely a concern. That was 3 years ago. Hasn't done anything like that since, so there's a lot of confidence that he's moved on. He was a young player, immature, and now he's moved on from that. So assuming that he's moved on and he's not that same type of player, he is a great coverage corner who went against crazy competition, not only in games, but also in practice, going against Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson and some of those crazy talented players that are in LSU. So in games and in practice, this guy was going against some extremely good talent. Now, he's not a shutdown corner. He doesn't look as perfect as Okuda when you watch him. However, this is a guy that can help you in coverage. He's pretty darn good. His production's pretty solid. And when you take in consideration who he's going against, this guy is extremely battle-tested. I think more battle-tested than what a guy like Jeffery Okuda is, and that's why he comes in at number 8. And now hopping into number 9, we have another offensive lineman, and this time it is Andrew Thomas. Again, I think I would have put Mekhi Becton on here if he would have played any kind of right tackle, but I didn't because of that. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, well, Andrew Thomas is one of those guys that play left tackle. Yes, he is. But I've also been told that he can play guard, and I have not been able to find that with Mekhi Becton. And since he can play guard, that automatically makes me interested, because if you can move Andrew Thomas to left guard or right guard, all of a sudden that fills out a huge need, and you're getting one of the best offensive linemen in the draft. And again, if something happened at tackle and you had to put him at tackle, he could play there as well. Andrew Thomas, versatile player from what I can tell, and again, one of the top offensive linemen. I'm going to keep it simple. That's why he comes in number 9. And now to round out the top 10, the final player on my big board so far until we get to the next one, until we get to the next 10, I went with Patrick Queen. Yeah, Patrick Queen got in my top 10? You're probably thinking, how in the world did that happen? Well, let me explain. Patrick Queen is a guy that is great in coverage at the linebacker position. The thing with Patrick Queen that a lot of people don't realize is that he actually played a few snaps at safety. He could play in the box. He could play on the D-line. He could play multiple different ways like Isaiah Simmons. He's like an off-brand Isaiah Simmons that's a lot shorter. He's 6 foot tall, 229 pounds. Shorter, off-brand Isaiah Simmons that can help in coverage. He's just okay against the run. He's an average player against the run in college. That may concern some teams, and that's probably why he'll fall a little bit. For me personally, that doesn't concern me as much because we have run stoppers on deck. Reggie Ragland's a run stopper. Jared Davis is a run stopper. Johnny Tavai's pretty much a run stopper. We have run stoppers everywhere you look. But do we have coverage linebackers? No. And if we pass on Isaiah Simmons, and if we trade back, or this guy falls to the second round, Patrick Queen is that guy that I would love to take because of that ability to play very, very well in coverage. I think he's probably second best coverage linebacker if you're including Isaiah Simmons in this draft, and because of that, he comes in at number 10. So those are my first 10 of my big board. Let me know what you agree, what you disagree with, who you would put where, and if you know anything about Mekhi Becton I haven't been able to find it, let me know that as well. 11 through 20 will be coming soon. Until then, thank you for watching, and I'm out.